Hello everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining my session today. Thank you Excel Virtually Global for having me this year again. My session this year is called Bring the Magic with Power Query. For those who don't know me, my name is Alejandra Horvath. I live in Canada. I'm a CPA, certified Excel expert, and an Excel and Power Query trainer. I have a YouTube channel where I share tips and tricks in Excel and mostly Power Query. Today, we're going to transform the information that we have in a PDF file like this. We're going to apply our magic and transform all this data into a table that is going to look like this. We're going to add a row with the total per city for all the sales and the taxes. The information that I have in the PDF file has only the units and the selling price. So we're going to transform all this data and get this nice table with only the information that we need. Please don't forget to fill the evaluations. My session is called Bring the Magic with Power Query. And as I said, my name is Alejandra Horvath. You can also scan the QR code here or follow the link over here. Okay, without further ado, let's start. So I have a folder on my desktop. The folder is called EVG. And that folder will have two files that we are going to use today. The dim tables file, I'm going to just double click there. I'm going to open. And this is the information that we have in that file. Only one table that has the city and the code for that city. The next file is sales details 6. I click there and we have our information right over here. This file will have the name of the report, the name of the company, and then most of the lines will have the invoice first, then the units, the selling price, the currency, and the PO. The first line has the city code, and anything below that line belongs to that city until I have another line right over here with another city code, and then the information below that line that belongs to this city, and so on and so forth. I have a total of 4 pages in this file. So the information gets cut off, and then I have the titles again, and I need to manage a way of keeping the same city or keeping the information for the city that starts in this line and ends until this line. So I need to find a way to combine all this information into a big table, keeping the correct city every time that I have a change in pages. So that's what we're going to do today, and we are going to use M to do that. So I'm hoping you feel inspired to keep learning M. And if you haven't started yet, so hopefully this will inspire you to start learning or start dipping into the M code. So I have the solve file just in case, but I'm not going to use that. However, I'm going to share with you the working files and the solve file. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back to Excel. I'm going to create a new workbook. And from here, I'm going to bring the PDF file first. So I'm going to go to data. I'm going to using Microsoft 365. Go to data, get data from file from PDF. Here I have my desktop, the folder EVG, and I go and bring my PDF file. Double click there. The navigator will open, and then I will have access to see a preview of each page in that file. I want to bring all the pages, so I'm going to click or select the folder right here where it says sales details 6 PDF. Control C plus to zoom in so you can see a little bit better. And I'm not ready to load because I need to transform this data first. I need to transform this data. So here I'm going to click at transform data. The Power Query editor opens and it's open in the other screen. Let me bring it over here. Control C plus to zoom in. On the left, I have the name of the query, which is the name of the file. Power Query names automatically this query with that name. I'm going to just say solved live. That will be the name of my query. On the right, I have the query settings, which includes the properties and the applied steps. I could have also change the name of the query right over here. And here we will see every single step, every single transformation that I apply to my data. We will have those steps recorded here. And here I'm going to expand my formula bar, and you can see that it just brought my PDF tables from that directory that I just showed you. In your case, you will have a different directory, so this information will change. From here, I just need the content of these tables that are included in my column data. You can see here, if you click on the right beside where it says table, you can see the content of every single page that I have in my PDF file. For that reason, I just want to keep my column data. I'm going to go to the end of the closing parentheses here in my formula bar. I'm going to provide double square bracket, and I'm going to say data. That is the column that I want to keep. This is called projection. I'm going to just keep the column data, and is presented in double square bracket. If I wanted to keep this column as a list, I would provide only one set of square brackets. I'm going to press enter, and here I have only the column that I need. I don't want to bring all the information, all the columns if I don't need them. I want to focus only on what I need. My first step, I need to start transforming these tables. And my first step will be to remove the first two lines of every single table. And the last line will have the page number. So let's start by transforming this column. So I'm going to create a new step. I'm going to hide the queries pane so we have more room here. And I'm going to just click at FX to create a new step. After the equal, I'm going to say table transform columns, open parentheses is asking me for a table that is coming from my previous step called source. Go to the end, provide a comma, and I'm going to provide the transformation operation as a list. To tell Power Query that something is a list, I need to provide the curly brackets. And inside of that curly bracket, I'm going to provide the name of the column inside of quotation marks. The column that I'm going to transform is the column data, the only column that I have here. And my transformation will be that for every single table that I have in this column, I want to skip the first two lines. So table skip, open parentheses, the table will come from every single line, as I said, from this column. So I provide the underscore, comma, and the count or condition. I know for sure that all the pages have two lines with the information that I don't need. So I'm going to say 2. That's how many lines I want to skip. Close parentheses, press enter, and now you will see that I don't have those first two lines anymore. So I'm going to rename this step to start with. I select the step F2 to edit, and I say TFRM. So I know that means transformation or transform. Okay, my next step, I need to keep the city code somehow in this table. I cannot split the information that I have in column 1 just yet, because then everything is going to be misaligned. If I try to split this column as is right now, and let's say I split by the semicolon right here, then the first line will be misaligned with the other lines that don't have this C0 something code. So I need to find a way to keep that information in that row, but I need to make sure that it's not gonna misalign any information if I split the column, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna apply one more step to this transformation, to this column, to the transformation to this column. So after the each, I'm gonna press Shift Enter, so I can move table skip to the next line. I'm gonna start by providing the expression list. Anything inside of that expression will be a transformation that I want to do to this column. And I'm gonna call this variable A, where I'm skipping the first two lines. After the closing parenthesis for table skip, I'm gonna provide a comma because I'm gonna add another step. Shift Enter to provide my variable B, which will bring a new column to this table. So table add column, open parentheses, and the table that I want to add the column to is these nested tables that I have here in my column data. So the table will come from my variable A, comma, which is for my first row will be this table that we're seeing right here. And I'm going to call this column cities, city code actually. And I provide that inside of quotation marks because it's a text, comma. And what do I want to transform inside of this column? Well, what I want to do inside of this new column is to bring the information that starts with C0. And if it doesn't start with that, then just bring me a null. And I'm going to say if whatever is in column 1 contains C0 or starts with C0, then bring that information. Anything else, bring me a null. So I'm going to say if text starts with, and the text will come from this column 1, comma, and what is going to start with will be C0. Close parentheses. And if it starts with that, then bring me the content of column 1. Else, if it doesn't start with C0, then bring me a null. And let's see if that works. I'm going to go to the end for the closing parentheses for the table add column. And I'm not going to provide a comma because that is the last variable, the last step in this process. Shift enter to go to the next line. And I'm going to provide the expression in. That is the closing expression, let's say. I'm starting the process with the expression let, and I close the process with the expression in. Anything that goes after that expression in is the result that I want to bring. That is the value, in this case, will be the value of my variable p. So let's go to the end, press enter, and let's see. Excellent. I just click here where it says table. I'm gonna collapse the formula bar. Now you can see that, yes, we brought all the information that is coming from this row that has C0001. We brought all the information, but I don't want everything. I only want C001. So that means that I need to bring the information that is before the delimiter. The delimiter in this case is the semicolon. Okay, that is a very easy fix. So I'm going to expand the formula bar and I'm going to modify my information over here where I say if the text starts with CO, then bring me not everything that is in column 1, just bring me the information or the text that is before the delimiter. And that delimiter, open parentheses, to provide the text that is coming from column 1, comma, and the delimiter will be the semicolon. I provide the semicolon inside of quotation marks because it's text. I'm going to close the parentheses for text before the delimiter. I'm going to click at the check mark right over here and see what happens. And sure enough, I bring only the information for that city or for the code for that city. I'm going to collapse the formula bar again so we can look into all the other tables. And here I have C0002 and I have C006 from here. So it's working. Now that I got that information, I want to remove that code from my text in these lines, and I'm gonna expand the formula bar again. I'm gonna provide a comma after the closing parenthesis for my variable b. Shift enter to provide my next variable will be c equal, and I'm gonna say table transform columns. Now we're gonna transform column 1 from these nested tables. And I'm going to open parentheses. The table is coming from my variable b, which is these tables that we're seeing here. And I'm going to say, and I'm going to provide the column as list, maybe the transformation as list. So I'm providing the name of the column 1, comma, the transformation will be each text after the limiter. And my text will come from every single line in my column 1, and the delimiter will be the semicolon. And actually, I need to say if column 1, its text contains from column 1, the text contains C0, then bring me the text after the semicolon. Else, bring me the information as is from column 1. And remember that Power Query is case sensitive, so make sure that you spell the name of the columns properly. I'm gonna go and change my result. Now I want to bring the value of my variable C. I'm gonna click the check mark and it's asking me, oh, I didn't put then properly. I'm telling you, make sure that you spell things correctly. Okay, check mark. And now it's giving me an error. Let's see what that error says. I'm going to open any of these tables and it says, we cannot apply access, field access. I know why. So let me remove the last step. I need to fix something in here. Oh, remember that I said in here column 1? No, it's not column 1. I'm already saying here the name of the column. So for that reason, I need to say that I'm already indicating which column I'm referring to. So here it means that it's going to look to every single line in that column. And I did that in here as well. So once again, table transform columns from the table that is coming from the step from the variable b. The name of the column that I'm going to transform is column 1. If the text on that column contains CO, then bring me the text that is after the semicolon and look at every single line and bring me that information. Anything else that does not contain CO, then bring me that line. Let's see. It should work now. Excellent. As you can see in here, C01, we don't have that C01 here anymore. It's gone because we told Power Query over here to remove it. If contains C0, then bring me anything that is after the semicolon. And that's what it did. I originally had C0001, semicolon, invoice, etc., etc. My next step will be to bring the name of this series. And remember that at the beginning, I showed you the theme tables file where we're going to bring it now. So here I'm going to expand my queries pane. I'm going to right click in the white section here, new query, file, Excel work. Here on the desktop, my EVG folder has that file called theme tables. Double click there and that file, Control Shift plus to zoom in, that file has a table called series. That's what I'm going to bring. So I'm going to select that and I'm going to say, okay. Here, Power Query on the right created some steps for me. I'm going to remove the change type. I don't need that step. I'm going to just leave it with the navigation step. I'm going to go to my Solve Live query. And from here, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to merge these two queries. But I'm going to merge that information in the nested table. I'm not going to expand it and merge it. I'm going to merge it inside of this nested table. And I'm going to collapse here the queries pane so we have a little bit more room over here. And I'm going to show you what I do when I merge queries in nested tables. I'm going to just collapse the formula bar. And because this is my last step, I'm going to just expand one of the tables. In here, I'm going to use the user interface. Here in the Home tab, Merge Queries, so I can do it easy and without knowing as much code, right? And getting the code correctly as well. And the query on the top is the query that I'm working with. And I'm going to select the query that I want to merge with, which is the query cities. The city that I want to connect is city code and code in the second query. I have 3 or 45 rows that are matching. I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to expand just the city column. And I don't want to use the original name as a prefix. I'm going to press OK. And now I have two steps. The first step is merge the query. I'm going to copy all of this from table nested join until the closing parentheses. I'm going to say Control C, go back to my transform step, and the formula bar. I'm going to add that variable here after the closing parentheses, provide a comma, shift enter. D will be my new variable, Control V to paste. And I'm just going to modify this. It says that the table nested join requires a table. In this case, the table will come from my variable C. And I need to provide that from that table. I'm going to connect the city code column with the query cities column code. And I'm going to call the new column cities. And I'm going to join that, or I'm going to connect that using the join can left out. Let's change our result here. Instead of C will be D. Click at the check mark, click at any of the tables, and now you see that I have a new column in my nested tables, any of them. And my new column is column cities, and inside of that column, we have nested tables. And that is because it's bringing information that is in the cities query. I'm going to go to my last step. That is where I am expanding the information from the query cities. I'm going to copy that, go back to my transform step. And from there, I'm going to add a new variable, comma after variable D, shift enter. E is the name of my new variable, Control V to paste. And this function, table expand table column, is asking for a table. The table is coming from my variable D. The column that I want to expand is the column series, and the new column, or the column that I'm expanding, is the column series. If I want to rename that column, I have the opportunity to do that. Otherwise, Power Query automatically renames that column as the same name as the original one. If the name of that column doesn't exist, I'm gonna change here the value for the value variable E, and let's see. I'm gonna click at any of the tables here on my column data, and now you see that it has expanded the name of the city that matches with this city code. Perfect. So I don't need from step data to the last step. So I'm going to select the step data, right click, delete until end. And by doing this, I just save time by using the user interface to create the code that I need for my transformation to the nested tables. So that is a trick that I use when I'm working with nested tables and I just don't remember, or I'm not certain about the code, or the code may take a little bit of time, then I just do what I did and copy and paste the code. Next step, I think I am ready. Oh, no, I'm not ready. Remember that I said at the beginning that these tables had the titles. All of those tables had the titles and also had the number of the page at the bottom. So here in my code, I remove the first line. If I try to expand one of these tables, it seems to be working properly. However, at the bottom of this page, you see in here that I have in line 46 over here, I have page 2 of 4. This is the end of my table and it has that page number. So I don't need that. I'm going to delete this step because I just click at a table and expanded that table. Here, I'm going to just remove that last line. And I can also remove, let me click here to the city, to one of the table, because I can also remove the rename for that column city. Here, if I click at the check mark, then there are no changes to my nested table. So now let's provide a comma, shift enter, F is the name of my next variable, and that says that table last end. Oh, actually, table remove last. Remove last end, and the table is coming from my variable e, and the condition or the count. I can say the condition that anything that is contains page can be removed, but in this case, I know that the last line of every single page is the one that I want to remove. So I go and change my result for F, press enter, and let's see if I expand any of these tables, let's say this one, go to the bottom, and I see that that is not there anymore. My next step is to remove the city code column. I don't need that column anymore. I'm going to modify my variable F. Since I'm going to remove the last row, and I'm going to remove the column as well. So I'm going to say table, remove columns, open parentheses to the table that is coming from this table remove last, which is this table that we're seeing here. And go to the end, comma, and the columns that I want to remove, I need to provide that inside of curly brackets, and the name of the column will be city code. I provide that inside the quotation mark. I'm going to close parentheses, and I'm going to click at the check mark and see. Perfect. I just have city and column one. That's really what I need. You notice that I'm going to just collapse the formula bar. I haven't filled down the city column, or when city code was there, I didn't do that either. And that is because in this case, table one, I start, the first row has the city, and I can fill that down. However, my next page doesn't have anything at the top. So it doesn't have anything to be filled from the top. So this would remain null. And then when if Halifax, then it will fill down until the end of the page. So the next page doesn't have anything on the top to fill down, to get copied down, right? For that reason, I'm gonna wait, or I waited until I expand all those tables to have a big table, then I can fill down that information. And now, I'm gonna expand the formula bar here. I'm gonna create a new step here. I'm gonna click FX beside the formula bar. I'm gonna say table combine. Open parentheses is gonna ask me for the tables as list. I have the tables inside of a column. To transform this column into a list, I just need to provide one set of square brackets. And that means that I'm gonna bring that column as list. I'm gonna press enter. And now you see that I have all the information that I need. So now we have Toronto, Regina, Edmonton, Halifax, etc. Okay, now that I have everything combined as a big table right here, I can fill down this information. So I'm going to select city, right click, fill down, okay? And I'm going to rename my steps. This where I combine the tables. I'm going to say combine. And my next step is fill down. It's FD for me. You can rename these steps as you feel they are meaningful to you. For me, that's how I identify what I'm doing in each step. And now that I have this information ready, I'm going to select the column one, right click, and I'm going to split by delimiter. My delimiter is the semicolon. Power Query has already identified that. And I'm going to say, okay. Power Query created an step for me, an additional step for me, which is change type. I don't want to do that just yet. My step split column, I'm gonna rename that, and I'm just gonna keep split. Now I see that Power Query has named my columns column 1.1, 0.2, and so on. And that is because this function, table split column, is asking to have a table. The table is coming from my step FD. fill down. I'm going to split column 1, and I'm going to split by the delimiter, the semicolon. Well, here is where I provide the name of those columns, and that's how Power Query has assigned those names for me. I'm going to bring a list. I have the code here already. So I'm going to go and create a new query. Right-click, new query, other sources, blank query. I'm going to go to the advanced editor, and I'm just going to paste this information here. What this is just the name of the columns. It's invoice number, right? Month, unit, selling price, currency, and PO number. You will have this available in the solved file, so don't worry about that. I'm gonna call this all names. Go back to the solve live query, and I'm gonna replace the name of the columns for the column names query. I'm gonna control Z that. So you see that the name of these columns is a list. I know that because it has the curly brackets. If I provide the column names, I provide the name of the query because it's a list already. I'm gonna click at the check mark, and now you see that the names of my columns is invoice, month, units, selling price, etc. So just make sure that the names that you have in the list align with the information that you have in your table. From here, I'm just gonna, first I'm gonna remove the last step, which is change type. And really what I need from this table, I'm gonna collapse or hide the query pane or to have more room over here. What I need from this query is the column city, selling price, and units. I can create a new step where I'm gonna select these 3 columns. I can right click and remove other columns, which will create another step. I have those names hard-coded here anyways. So I'm going to remove this step. And what I want to do is a projection. Double set of square brackets. The first will have city. That is the first column that I want in my table, comma. My second column will be selling price. My third column will be units. You see that inside of the first set of square brackets, I have each column indicated with a set of square brackets. I separate each column by the comma. And then at the end, I have this a first set of square brackets closing. I'm going to click at the check mark, and you see that now I have those 3 columns only without creating a new step. Next, I need to multiply the selling price by the unit. I have this information as a text. I can change the data type for these columns here, or I can work with a formula to bring this information as number and this information as whole number. I'm going to create a new step. I'm going to go after the equal. I'm going to add a column, table add column, or add column. Open parentheses is going to ask me for a table. The table is coming from my step split, comma. The new column name will be sales, comma. Which operations do I want to process in that new column? I need to provide a function, each keyword for a function. I'm going to say that I want selling price multiplied by units. So I'm providing the name of the columns inside of square brackets. I'm going to close the parentheses and press enter. And of course, I have the error because I'm working with text that is coming from those columns. For the selling price, I want this information as number. I'm going to say number from text right here. And close parentheses. And for the units, that's whole number. So I'm going to say integer 64 from units. Okay. So this is the operation that I'm processing here. I want the number from text in the selling price, and I want the whole number from units. Let's see if that works. And it worked. I still have the red bar here. I go one step before and I go back to my last step and it goes away. Now this is gonna be sales. My step is gonna be called sales. Now I'm ready to remove these two columns. I don't need selling price and units anymore. You can create a new step by deleting these two columns, or you can do a projection. And I like projections. So I'm gonna just indicate which columns I'm gonna keep. I'm gonna provide double set of square brackets, and I'm gonna say city in the first square set of square brackets, comma, open a new set of square brackets, and I'm gonna say sales. Those are the only two columns that I want to keep. Click at the check mark, and now I have those two columns. I'm ready to group this information. You can also work with a pivot table in Excel if you want to do that. However, I want to show you how to add a line with the total of a column. So for that reason, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to group this information and bring the total per city. So I'm going to collapse the formula bar, select city, right click, group by. And I want to call this new column sales, and it will be a sum of the sales. Say okay, and now I have my total per city. I can add the taxes to the column. I could have done that into the lines, but if I don't need that at the level of the lines, and I can just, if I just need that information at the end when everything is grouped, then the calculation will be less than calculating line by line, rather than just calculating here the tax for the total of each city. I'm gonna go and add a new column. I'm gonna select my column sales, add column, standard, multiply, and I'm gonna multiply this for 0.05, which is 5%. That is the GST here. And I'm gonna go back and just quickly rename my steps, step group, and instead of inserted multiplication, I'm gonna say this is gonna be tax. The column that I added, Power Query added a column to the table that is coming from my step group. The column was called multiplication. I don't want that name. Sounds too bad to me. I want to say stacks. And what it's doing in that new column is multiplying the sales. The column says sales that I selected. And I multiply that for the 0.05 that I provided in that box. And the type of this column is type number. I press enter. And now I have all the information that I need. I'm going to add a line with the total of sales and total of taxes. As you see, Power Query can provide you the total when you add two columns or more columns. It provides you a multiplication. It provides you the operation that you need as long as you add columns. However, to add a row with the total of a column, that's not as simple. Okay, and actually, let me just change this last step so we don't create any confusion. This step is going to be called taxes. I want to make the difference between the step and the column called tax, because you will see in the next step that it might be confusing if I don't change these names. So I'm going to create a new step here beside the formula bar. I'm going to press F(x). I'm going to create a mini table. To do that, I'm going to delete here in the formula bar. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to expand the formula bar. So I'm going to delete these taxes, even though we can still see here. And this is the table that is coming from that step taxes. I'm going to bring a keyword for Power Query. It's called table, hashtag table. And the first thing that I need to provide is the name of the columns inside of curly brackets, because I need to provide this as list. The name of the columns will be these column names. It will be city, comma, open another set of quotation marks, let's say sales, and then last one will be X, comma. I'm gonna go to the next line, Shift Enter. Now what is gonna go in this first row of that table Again, I need to provide that as list, so curly brackets. What goes inside of the first column will be total, and that will be text. That's why I need to provide the quotation marks, comma. What goes inside of the second column will be the total of these sales, of these column sales. I'm going to use the function list sum. Open parentheses, and I need to provide a list. The list will come from the table that I'm seeing here, and I'm going to do a projection. Remember that if I have a table, I can make a projection, double set of square brackets, bring the information of that column as column, or if I provide one set of square brackets, we'll bring that column as list, and that's what I need. So I'm going to add anything that is in the table that is coming from my step taxes, and that's why I had to change the name. And the column that I want to bring as list in this second column will be sales. That's the name of this column. That's what is coming inside of my second column called sales. I'm going to go to the closing parentheses for list sum. I'm going to provide a comma. And now what is going inside of my column tags will be the total of my column tags. So I'm going to say list sum, open parentheses. The list will come from my table taxes. And I do a projection for the column that I want to bring as list. The column is tax. This column, I want to bring it as list. Before I press enter, I'm missing one set of curly brackets. So this is what is going into the first row. If I had more rows, then I would provide a comma and provide a new set of curly brackets, then close that set of curly brackets. But in this case, I only have one row, so I'm fine with one set of curly brackets only. I'm gonna click at the check mark and let's see, and that worked. So city, sales, and taxes. So Control-Shift+ to zoom in. Let me close these query settings. So city is my first column, or the name of my first column, and this is the content that comes into that column, and that's what is in here. That's how I indicated. Sales, this is the content that will come into that row for that column, list sum, and here is the sum, or this is the total of all the sales in that column, sales, from my step taxes, from that table where I have all my sales by city. And here, for my column tax, I have same thing. I have the total of the taxes that I have in my table with all the cities. That is the content that will go into this column. Control-Shift- to zoom out. And I just want to get back my query settings. Go to View, and then here, Query Settings. Now that I have this, I'm going to go back to my step taxes. I'm going to add to this table, I'm going to add that line that I have in my next step. And to do that, I'm just going to say that after the equal, I want to bring taxes, which is the table that I just showed you. And I'm gonna provide the ampersand so I can put together both tables. I'm gonna connect both tables, let's say, and I'm gonna click at the check mark. And by doing that, now I have a row with the totals, and I have all my sales, all my taxes. And I just need to rename this and say final table or summary table. Let's say summary table. Let's say you want to pass this information to Excel, go home, close and load to. And because we have several queries, I'm going to create a connection first, and then I'm going to load only that summary to my spreadsheet. So I'm going to right click, load to, and I'm going to bring this as table. And I'm going to do that here on B2, existing worksheet. I'm going to say, okay. Here I can change the format of my table. I can go to table design and choose any other design. I can select this, or I can select, this is one of my favorite ones. Now, The data type has been assigned in Power Query. If you want to change the format, you can change that here. So I'm gonna just select these two columns, Control Shift 1 if you want to convert this into numbers with decimals and having the comma to separate the thousands, or you can select any other, or you can select that and Control Shift 4, I believe, for currency, and you can look into more formattings right here or right here, whatever works for you. In my case, I don't like to see decimals, so now that I transform this into numbers with decimals and thousand separator, I'm going to remove the decimals here. And now you see you have your total. You can just format a little bit better this information. I hope you found this information useful. I'll be at the end of this session to answer your questions. Thank you so much for joining. And please don't forget to fill the evaluations. My session is called Bring the Magic with Power Query. And you can scan the QR code or you can follow this link. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.